Welcome to Oklahoma Music Legends. I'm your host, Tommy Henshaw. Have you heard of John Moreland? If you have, you are probably one of his legions of fans who find truth in his poetic lyrics and soulful singing. If you haven't, then it's about time you become acquainted with John Moreland. Hey, stand by for his story. Born to parents Robert Moreland, an electrical engineer, and mother Connie, who was a school librarian, son John was born on June 22, 1985 in Longview, Texas. His father worked for Sunoco Oil Company. Soon after his birth, moved to northern Kentucky. When John was 10, the family again picked up, moving to Tulsa, Oklahoma. John said in an interview his father had an old Martin 51 guitar that he seldom played, except around Christmas time when his mother would ask his dad to play some Christmas songs. When they arrived in Tulsa, faced with no friends and loneliness, John dug into the back of his dad's closet, pulling out that old guitar, and with his dad's help began teaching himself to play. His dad introduced him to classic rock artists like Neil Young, Tom Petty, and Creedence Clearwater. While attending church, John began playing guitar with a boy he met there, who wrote songs. He encouraged John to begin writing songs too. When he was 15, he joined with a punk band and jumped headlong into the emerging Tulsa punk rock scene, playing electric guitar, writing songs, while playing with the band 30 called Arson. In another interview, John said the first gig he remembers playing was held in a girl's backyard just west of Tulsa in Sapulpa. As he grew older, John's taste in music began to broaden. According to a 2017 article by Matt Hendrickson, he made regular trips to Tulsa's downtown library to check out jazz and roots music CDs. John said Gillian Welch's 2003 album, Soul Journey, with its spare instrumentation and Welch's lonely voice, struck a chord within him. John said, "That was a real eye-opener for me." He failed to return the CD back to the Tulsa Library. He still has it, although it's over 12 years overdue at the Tulsa Library. I'm not going to rat him out. I still have a copy of My Side of the Mountain that I checked out of the Tulsa Public Library when I was a kid. Welch's music led John to Steve Earle and Townes Van Zant's music as he transitioned back toward the acoustic guitar. John recorded 3 albums with his band, Black Gold, before deciding to go it alone. Releasing his first solo project in 2011, Earthbound Blues, touring by himself, relentlessly crisscrossing the country weeks at a time, booking his own shows, pressing the album as he could afford, and selling them himself after a performance, so he could make it to the next town for the next show. This would be how he would roll for the next few years. John Moreland is a large and menacing figure of a man, large and in charge when it comes to the stage, whose arms and hands are heavily tattooed. He said his first tattoo was having Oklahoma tattooed on his hands, Okla on his right, and Homa above his knuckles on his left, spelling out his adopted home state of Oklahoma. Last year, on one hot Saturday evening in Tennessee, I experienced him for myself. I was visiting relatives in Tennessee. When I arrived, they told me, "Get ready, we're going to a friend's new music venue, The Cavern in Pelham, Tennessee, right now." I asked who was playing, and they said, "I don't know, but it's going to be fun." We loaded up in their friend's car, and sure enough, we rode out into the woods, down a gravel road, to finally see a lot of people heading down into the mouth of a large cave. I was introduced to the owner, who asked me where I was from. I told him, and he said, "I think the guy who's playing tonight, John Moreland, is also from Oklahoma." While he proceeds to escort us down to our seats in the front row of his incredible venue, he begins to tell us about John. He said women love him, and it's not unusual to see them cry during his performance. It's worth noting that in central Tennessee, it was about 100 humid degrees outside, and we walked down into a very pleasant 68 degrees. What a relief from the heat. As it grew closer to showtime, I saw who I thought was Moreland coming down the aisle with another musician, who I would later learn was another Tulsa music maker, John Calvin Abney, who has a great CD of his own. Yeah, I have it too. John sat on the chair with Abney by his side, both holding acoustic guitars, and like a kid, I immediately noticed the Okla and Homa tats across his hands. When they began to play and Moreland began to sing, I heard and felt some of the most soulful lyrics and melodies I've ever heard. I immediately felt his pain, and like the ladies who were with us, I too began to weep. For the next hour or so, we were on a journey through his heart and soul. If it's music's job to make you feel, he will certainly make you feel. I felt emotions from shared life experiences that I had suppressed for years. His guitar playing was masterful while Abney accompanied and offered up strong harmony. After his performance, he quietly began the journey up the aisle, hustling to get back to his truck. I learned to drive to his next performance the next night in Oklahoma City, never looking like anyone who was a celebrity. I bought a copy of each of his CDs that were available at his merchandise table and wore them out during my own 12-hour trip westward down I-40 toward home. I learned later that Miranda Lambert considers John among her favorite songwriters. She said she discovered John during a time in her life when she felt all alone. She said, when I heard his honest and sincere songs, they somehow helped me. His songs also taught me it's okay to be honest about your feelings. His career got a healthy boost when the booker for The Late Show caught one of John's performances in New York and booked him on the show. MSNBC's Rachel Maddow is a fan. She tweeted one day, if the American music business made any sense at all, guys like John Moreland would be household names. John later joked her remarks was the first time his dad agreed with Rachel Maddow. 3 of his songs, Heaven, Gospel, and Your Spell, were featured on the television show Sons of Anarchy. John is now crisscrossing the country and later this summer will embark on another tour of Europe. He no longer books his own shows, packages or mails out his albums and merchandise. He still loves the recording process where he used to record everything himself and play all the instruments. He now enjoys the musical accompaniment of local music makers. John still calls Tulsa his home. In all, John has recorded 7 albums, of which In the Throes is available on LP, High on Tulsa Heat, and Big Bad Love are available on CD and LP. You can check out his website, and you can find his show schedule on johnmoreland.net. If you take the opportunity to see John in concert, what you will experience is this. Armed with nothing more than a stool and his guitar, Moreland starts the show the way he always does. He'll close his eyes, open his mouth, and let the truth flow out. All the while, his tattooed fingers set that truth to music. In a recent article, Clay Skipper wrote the following. The whiskey and cigarette sound of the literary ballads of his last 3 albums helped John Moreland figure out who he is. It's about time you know him and his music too. To which I can only add, I totally agree. You've been listening to Oklahoma Music Legends Podcast. Help us spread the word. Tell your friends our podcast can be found on Spotify, iTunes, Buzzsprout, Stitcher, and Google Music Play. Also on our website, oklahomamusiclegends.com. On the top of our homepage, click on the podcast link and you can choose from any of our podcasts. Many of our podcasts are available on our Oklahoma Music Legends YouTube channel. Stay current by liking our Oklahoma Music Legends Facebook page. For Oklahoma Music Legends, I'm Tommy Henshaw. Thanks for listening.